Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Wednesday morning. Today, a special program on religion as we draw closer to Christmas. The Monsignor from the Catholic Diocese will be in here. 436 MeTV option 11. This is a live program, so do feel free to call in. Today's program sponsored by McHenry Protective Services. Back here on the program live, we're talking about religion and Christmas as we draw closer to that Christian holiday. Of course, it's on Sunday this year. It falls on a weekend. We'll talk about that during the course of the program and so much more today with the Monsignor from the Catholic Diocese. Introduce him in just a few moments. But a programming note for tomorrow. Al Perez is going to be in. He owns that big boxing gym. He was affected by high-speed rail. We'll talk to him about that, and he's up and running. Has a lot of boxers in there. We'll talk to him about the sport of boxing, the rise and fall of boxing. I don't know. Is it as popular as it was back in the 70s and 80s? I don't think so. Are there as many boxers as there were back then? You know, high-profile superstars like Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman? Not really. We'll talk to him about that and about the success of his gymnasium right here in the city of Fresno. So let's talk about what channel you're watching. Comcast channel 375 as usual. If you don't have Comcast cable, you can easily watch us with an over-the-air digital antenna, 43.6, 13.1. That's over-the-air broadcast. And then later in the day, you can catch the replay at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. 13.6 YouTube, 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. So you have two more opportunities to catch this program during the course of the day. And then it's up on YouTube for the rest of time, my friends, after today. Let's talk about religion. And as we draw closer to Christmas, we think about where Jesus was born in Bethlehem. But we also think about the city that is right next to it, very close by, within about a 10, maybe 15, 30-minute drive at the most. I'm talking about the city, the ancient holy city of Jerusalem. It is home to so many thousands of people. There have been so much strife there. I mean, it dates back generations, thousands and thousands of years. And I was reading an article just recently here that says that Jerusalem has been destroyed and rebuilt some 18 times in the last 3,000 to 4,000 years. 18 times. I don't know how accurate that figure is, but it sounds pretty close. There is always conflict in that city, and it really relates to religion. It relates to land. Who owns what land? What land belongs to me? What land belongs to you? Who has the right to this land? And it usually centers around the city of Jerusalem, of course. That is the city where Jesus, of course, was crucified more than 2,000 years ago. There is an enclave on the east side of Jerusalem, and this is where a lot of the conflict is. It's where about 50,000 Palestinians live currently today, and where about 500 Jewish settlers have moved in because they continue to build those Jewish settlements along the West Bank, I should say, the east side of Jerusalem. Many Jewish people here in this country move to Israel because they want to live there. That is the source of the problem, at least one of them, and it creates a lot of conflict, and then they go at it head to head. I'm talking about the Israelis and the Palestinians. Take a look.
Silwan sits right at the feet of Jerusalem's old city, one of the most contested pieces of land in the world. Since Israel annexed Jerusalem in 1967, some organizations have worked to re-establish a Jewish presence in Silwan, building a large complex around the archaeological ruins of the city of David. In the last decade, Jewish families have also started to move in, building heavily secured enclaves surrounded by Palestinian homes. The move, supported by Israeli authorities, was widely condemned by the international community and by Palestinians, who see East Jerusalem as the capital of a future Palestinian state. Israel, for its part, claims one undivided Jerusalem as its capital. Daniel Seidman immigrated to Israel from New York in the 1970s. Here, he founded Terrestrial Jerusalem, an NGO that tracks developments in the city, like the construction of new settlements. Seidman, who is Jewish, would normally move freely across Palestinian neighborhoods, where he has many friends. But not anymore, as things in the city have recently taken a turn for the worse.
Usually, they get along okay. Jerusalem knows how to do it. It's been doing it for 1,300 years. But when Jerusalem is abused, as it has been recently, Jerusalem erupts, and what we're seeing is the crunching of the tectonic plates of civilizations, and it's all taking place in this small area. You guys have malls in the United States that have more floor space. You can see on the horizon vaguely, there is a huge Israeli flag fluttering in the wind. That's not a flag, that's a statement. You have flags like that in Turkey and Texas. What we're seeing is an attempt, very much backed by the government of Israel, to use these enclaves to transform this existing contemporary Palestinian area into a renewed pseudo-biblical theme park. This is where Judaism developed. This is where Christ was tried and crucified. It's also where Jesus healed the blind. And from Al-Aqsa Mosque and Haram al-Sharif, our Temple Mount, is where Muhammad ascended to heaven. It's all there. It's Axis Mundi. All of the components of a very bitter struggle are condensed within Silwan. It's literally the core of the volcano.
And live in our studio right now is the Monsignor, Raymond C. Dreiling. He's a return guest. He's from the Catholic Diocese here in the city of Fresno. He is glad to be here during this busy time to talk about the city of Jerusalem. And as we draw closer to Christmas, what does that all mean to us? Just down the road, of course, is Bethlehem, where Jesus supposedly was born in a little cave underneath the Church of the Nativity in the city of Bethlehem. But what about the ticking time bomb of Jerusalem? What's going on there? Is there more strife there than there has been in recent years? We'll talk to the Monsignor about that. He's been to Jerusalem. I've been to Israel as well, so we have a little bit in common there. He knows more about it than I do, though, but this dates back thousands and thousands of years with the Palestinians, of course, and the Israelis going at it. There's always been strife there, and of course, when the Romans controlled that city, it was, of course, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, whose birth is this Sunday, according to the Christian calendar. But then there are some Orthodox Christians also who believe and celebrate on January the 7th. We'll also talk about that and why that is. 436-ME-TV, option 11. So, my friends, Christmas is not about only giving presents. We're back with our program after this from McHenry Protective Services. It's no wonder why the city of Fresno and so many Valley businesses choose McHenry Protective and Investigative Services. With over 50 years of experience in public safety and security, McHenry's team of experts will safeguard you, your commercial property, and your next big event. Professional service, marked patrol vehicles, 24-hour dispatch, and friendly, observant, and responsive armed and unarmed guards are just a few of the reasons you should contact McHenry at 559-478-7747 or visit them online at mchenryprotection.com.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the KitchenAid appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Save big with KitchenAid. Right now, get up to a $1,000 prepaid MasterCard when you purchase select KitchenAid appliances. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Back here on the program, 436-ME-TV, option 11. Well, time to welcome in the Monsignor. How are you, sir?
I'm very, very well. Thank you very much, John. Thanks for having me back.
Hey, good to see you. And Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you and to all your guests.
Thank you very much. So, Jerusalem, a divided city. Mm-hmm. Has it always been that way?
The Israeli, the Jewish, and or Gentile situation has always been a source of conflict in that wonderful city, and so I think it's just part and parcel of that region of the world. But it goes back centuries, and whether we can solve it, that really takes a lot of will to make it happen.
All right, caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Sir, I have a question. I thought I just heard someone on your show say that Muhammad ascended into heaven.
Well, that's what Muslims believe, that Muhammad ascended into heaven on a white horse on Temple Mount inside that mosque. There's a big rock, a white rock in there.
Yeah, on the Temple
And-
Mount, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. What's your question? Caller?
It was to the father there. If I believe that Jesus was the only one that ascended, and Muslims believe that someone else did, what does the father believe?
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you for your call.
Appreciate it.
The situation is that there are two major religions that are in play here. The Muslims believe that Muhammad ascended. Ascended doesn't mean that it's in conflict with the ascension of Jesus. It's just another interpretation of their particular religious practice. For Christians, for me as a Christian, Jesus did ascend into heaven, and that is a teaching of our faith and something we believe, that his ascension to the right hand of the Father is part of the glory that is what we call the Trinity of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So the fact that the Muslim religion claims that Muhammad ascended into heaven does not take away or denigrate the belief of Christians, because, of course, the Muslim religion is a different religion from Christianity.
Right. And so only the Muslims believe that Muhammad ascended to heaven? Or do other people, do other forms of religion believe that too?
I wouldn't be able to characterize what other forms of religion believe, but as a Christian, I respect their belief, the
Right.
Muslim belief, and but it doesn't take away anything about the fact that Jesus rose from the dead and ascended into heaven.
Does in any way the Bible or any Christian believe that actually happened with Muhammad?
No.
Is there any evidence of
There's
that?
no evidence in the Bible. No, because of course
Right.
the Bible is centrally located on the life and the work of Jesus.
Correct.
And so if one would look at the Quran, for example, of
Right.
of the Muslim religion, then of course there are passages referring to that. But in the Bible, the Holy Bible, there is no reference to Muhammad at all.
Why so much strife in the city of Jerusalem? Why so much chaos and war and destruction? And I read somewhere where Jerusalem, a city divided, has been destroyed and rebuilt 18 times in the last 3,000, 4,000 years, whatever it is. Why has it always been the center of destruction, death and destruction? It's supposed to be a religious city.
Jerusalem means peace, the place of peace.
Right.
Salem means peace. So it's really a kind of a conflict there, with our understanding. But if we can understand historically, Jerusalem has always been at the epicenter, has always been at the crossroads of major civilizations, with Egypt.
Hang on, caller.
With Egypt and with Syria and with all those areas of the Middle East. So it doesn't surprise me that Jerusalem would be the epicenter of all of that. Then we have the confluence of three major religions in the world.
And those three are, it's Christianity.
Christianity,
All right.
Judaism,
and Muslim.
And so those are all religions who believe in one God. And they are sort of at attention of how they live that out in their
Well,
lives.
it's just curious to me why it's always been that way. It's supposed to be, Jerusalem, a city of peace, has always been in strife because of religion, because one group feels, hey, this land in East Jerusalem belongs to me. It's where Muhammad did this, that, and the other thing. And the Christians come along and say, no, Jesus walked here, Jesus did this is a religious site, that land belongs to me. So it's over land and religion.
And politics. Politics gets in the middle of all of this and, of course, messes everything up, in my opinion.
Yes.
But I would say if the three major leaders of the three major religions could sit down and talk without politics.
They won't.
They won't. No,
They won't.
but if they could do that, they could. There's the possibility of something happening.
Caller, you're on the air with the Monsignor Raymond C. Dreiling. Go ahead. What's your question?
Yes, I want to go back to ascension. We must understand that the ascension was Enoch was the first one to ascend. He walked with God and was no more. And then we have the ascension of Elijah, who God took with him, on the chariot. He ascended. And so ascension is something that only happens to those who are granted that privilege by God. And then we also need to consider that the three major religions, they all go back to Abraham. And because of the fact that they all share the blessings of Abraham, that's why they all want to be considered the religion. And the last thing, the word Jerusalem means city of peace. I think you alluded to that.
Yes.
So when we talk about Melchizedek, he was the king of peace, the king of this city. There was an ancient city that Abraham gave him tithes. So this city has been the center of spiritual influence for thousands of years.
Yeah, that we know. Yeah, no question about it. And so thank you for the call. I appreciate it. So we know that the Romans controlled that whole area for so long. I don't know how much of the history you know about Jerusalem. I know a little bit, but I'm not a historian, obviously. How many different groups have controlled that city?
Oh,
Too many to talk about?
Too many to talk about. Some go very, very long back in history, long before the Romans came. The Assyrians, the Hittites, the Egyptians, have controlled over that during the Egyptian pharaohs and all of that. They've controlled that area. Many, many different civilizations have controlled that area. But I just want to go back to what the caller said, and I really agree with what he says very strongly, that going back to the ascension and all of that, that's historically within the Bible.
Within the context of the Bible.
And as he said, it was a gift from God, and that is a very, very true statement.
What was a gift from God?
The gift of ascension, the gift of going up to heaven.
Okay.
And is a gift from God. So I really appreciate the comments that the caller made.
Wasn't the city of Jerusalem given to someone by God? Isn't it a temple? It's a temple. Isn't Jerusalem basically a temple that's been destroyed and rebuilt?
Jerusalem is a city, but long before the Israelites,
given to who by God?
Long before the Israelites came into that area, the Canaanites lived there, so
Okay.
they were
Sure.
a non-believing group of people who really settled that area originally and were settlers of the land. And when Moses began, when he had his plight through the desert and came to Mount Nebo and looked over and saw the promised land, it was a gift from God. Says, this is the land of milk and honey. This is the land of the promise.
Is Jerusalem part of that promised land?
Yeah, absolutely.
It
yes,
is.
Yes.
And Moses spotted Jerusalem and said, this was a gift from God to us,
Yes.
the Jews.
Whether Jerusalem was an organized city at the time is a matter of conjecture, but it was a settlement. And when Moses and the people of Israel saw this promised land, this is what they had been wandering in the desert for so long. The promise of God is fulfilled in the giving of this land. And so for the Jewish people, Israel, the land of Palestine, for them is the promised land.
But the Jews are the only ones who believe that, though, right? That land was given to them by God.
Well, it also means, as we were reflecting before, that since all three religions form from a common father called Abraham, all feel part of that promise.
They all feel part of that gift.
That gift.
All right, Raymond C. Dreiling is here. He's the Monsignor from the Catholic Diocese. Glad that he is here today because we're talking about that ticking time bomb, the city of Jerusalem. So beautiful, and in so many ways can turn so ugly so quickly, and it has for thousands of years. If you ever get a chance, go back there and visit all the holy sites, whether they are Jewish holy sites, Christian holy sites, and most certainly all the Muslim sites as well. All right, 436 MeTV option 11 is your telephone number to call in. Got an open line here as we draw closer to Christmas. McHenry Protective Services, our sponsor today.
Unscramble.
Sing, honey, sing.
Call them classics, call them the best. Call them favorites, we
our guest. Every day there's more to come. Watch and see, there's only one. Me TV.
Try me. Me.
That's memorable, that's me.
That's me.
Me, you gotta see. That's memorable, that's me. Me TV.
Tune in to Heartland for the best in true country music. Relive vintage specials, one-of-a-kind concerts, and country music's earliest videos. Heartland is the heart of country. The only place where you can find country music, country stars, and country lifestyles 24/7. Heartland, the heart of country.
Now on channel 13.2.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Touch the new Whirlpool Ice Collection. It offers a modern style made to create an inspiring kitchen experience. Save big on this Whirlpool Black Ice or White Ice kitchen. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Back here in the program talking about the divided city, the ticking time bomb called Jerusalem, and everybody focuses on that city and Bethlehem during this time, during Christmas and of course Easter. You know, when I first went there, and I've only been there one time, it was back in 2000, turn of the century of course, and I was a little bit leery, Monsignor, I have to admit. I mean, there were bus bombings going on.
Yeah.
We went all over the state of Israel, I guess as they call it, except for the Dead Sea. I did not go to the Dead Sea, but went to every other religious site known to mankind over there. And I was a little on edge. I mean, you can feel it. The Israeli military, it really is a military state. They control everything there. And you can feel the tension. The tension. As soon as you land, it goes right through your bones.
Right, right. And of course, the Israeli people, the government is always very careful because, of course, they've been under attack so many times.
Right.
So they're bound to take care and protect their people. But I never really felt frightened. I was aware of the presence of military and police all around, but I really never felt frightened. You just have to be very careful about, being in your surroundings. Be aware of your surroundings.
I wasn't so much frightened, but a little concerned that because we took a bus everywhere, except when we went to Bethlehem, we took a cab. And that, I don't have time to tell you about that cab ride because it was quite entertaining and a little I was on edge during that cab ride, but I was concerned every time I got on a bus. For example, we traveled to the Sea of Galilee on a bus.
Yes.
Okay, you go all the way up and you see the border of Jordan up there and everything, and you get concerned. You say, "Well, is this my time?"
Yes, yes.
Is this my time?
And could this be the moment? But at the same time, I felt very protected because, of course, in the trips I've taken to Israel, it has been always with a group, with a tour group. So we were on.
But that's who they attack. They attack groups.
Yeah, we were on an organized bus tour and stuff like that. So there was no real problem.
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air with the Monsignor, Raymond C. Dreiling of the Catholic Diocese.
Hi. Very happy to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Abraham was coerced. Maybe he wanted to anyway to take a different wife at the same time, which was acceptable. But do you not think that the firstborn is the one that gets the inheritance, and he was thrown out after his wife had a baby, and there was some resentment, and I can understand that.
Yeah.
And don't you think that people are actually messing up what God wants us to do?
Ooh. Good question. Yeah.
That's
Okay,
that's a
Monsignor.
very nice approach there.
Yeah.
You know, the resentment, the anger that some people felt that the promise or the inheritance was quote quote stolen from them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we human beings have messed this up really bad because we let pride, we let anger, we let all those other
about
selfishness, taking sides. You know, one person is bad, one group is bad, the others are good. We've taken all those human feelings and muddled them in such a way that we can't see the real treasure right under our
As
nose.
my father used to say, you can't see past your nose.
Yes.
Is that what we've done? We can't see past our nose?
And this is generations long, not recently. Recently is just as thousands of years. So human frailty, in my opinion, has gotten into the middle of all of this and just messed it. And I agree with the caller in that regard, that human nature has messed this all up.
Yeah. Okay. And is God going to forgive us for that?
Oh,
or
God
not?
is a merciful God. God is a merciful God, as we've been celebrating all last year.
Yeah. He's ticked off though. He's
Oh
gotta
well,
be a
he
little
can.
ticked off.
He's
An
disappointed
earthquake
with us.
here, an earthquake there, a flood here, a flood there.
He's kind of saying, get your act together down there.
We got another call here, so we're stirring it up today. Go ahead. You're on with the Monsignor. Caller?
Yes, Monsignor, let me ask maybe an important question. Is it true that the resurrection of Jesus Christ, that he wandered around for 40 days? That, I would like to hear from your perspective, and really that's really what I want to ask you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Wandering around probably isn't quite the word I would use, but after his resurrection, he appeared to his disciples. It's recorded in the scriptures that he appeared to certain of his disciples to show that he had truly
Hang on, caller.
that he had truly risen from the dead. So whether he was kind of wandering around taking in the sights, before he ascended into heaven to go back to his Father, I don't know if I'd characterize it that way. He was making a statement, particularly, walking into the group of the apostles after the resurrection and showing them that he was truly alive. It's not a figment of their imaginations, because when he saw them, they thought they were seeing a ghost, and he says, well, a ghost doesn't eat, so do you have something to eat? And so they gave him something to eat, and he ate. So it was a testimony to Jesus' true resurrection from the dead, not in some kind of spiritual sense, but in the true bodily sense.
So, if I had seen Jesus after the resurrection, would I be able to poke him like I'd poke you?
Absolutely,
He's like
because
real in the flesh, like right there. So he would be real.
The scriptures point out, when he went to his disciples, he says, "Don't persist in your unbelief. Touch my hands and see the nail print in my hands."
Did he have holes in his hands?
Absolutely.
And his feet?
Yes, according to the scriptures, yes.
Okay, caller, you're on the air.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank you, John, for having such a great subject today, and to realize that Jesus is the reason for the season. I really commend you and the show. And the other thing is that when we talk about these 40 days, there were several events documented in the scripture, but we know that Pentecost was only 50 days after the Passover. And so his ascension took place between the Passover and Pentecost, and he was witnessed. His ascension is witnessed by many, many people, which makes it different from Elijah's ascension and from Enoch's ascension. Jesus' ascension was witnessed by many people. Thank you.
Thank you. Who was it witnessed by?
Well, particularly the scriptures point out to his disciples. You remember when you were in Jerusalem, there was called the Mount of Ascension.
Oh, yeah.
On the top of what is called today the Mount of Olives.
Yes.
And so it was obviously, if you see the city of Jerusalem, it's a very predominant place today.
Sits on a hill.
Sits on a hill, high on a hill. Well, obviously, his ascension could be witnessed by hundreds, if not thousands, of people.
So when I envision this, am I just seeing a man, Jesus, just standing there 1 minute and 1 minute ascending and flying through the air like a bird?
Well, of course, we can make
Is that how it happened?
I wasn't there. I didn't see.
But according to the scripture.
According to the scriptures.
Just like a bird.
He was raised on a cloud into heaven, and his disciples witnessed it. And
so
they
how was he raised? Was he standing and just went up? Huh?
That's kind of the way we perceive it.
He didn't fly up. He just ascended up.
Yeah, he was returned to his Father, and his disciples saw him, and they were, in a sense, the angel said, "Why are you looking up in the sky? Don't look in the sky anymore. This Jesus, who you've believed, has gone to heaven. Now look down at the ground and get to work, because you have to carry on his message in this time and in this place."
Wow. Okay. Caller, hang on a second. I got to ask one more question. Did his disciples ask him, Jesus, according to the scripture, not to leave?
Oh, they were heartbroken. They not only did they believe in Jesus before his crucifixion but after the resurrection, they were so overjoyed to see him again. And then he says, "But I'm going." And of course they were heartbroken. They could not hold on to him. Remember, he says, "Do not hold on to me. I have to return to my Father." And of course, they were heartbroken, but filled with joy and filled with hope. And the Christian religion began to build as a result of that faith in Jesus Christ that came from his ascension and his life, that it's changed the world.
All right, go ahead, caller. You're on the air with the Monsignor. What is your question this morning?
My question was, you said it earlier that God's mad at us, so he's causing the earthquakes.
I said that.
Is this true, or does science really have something to do with it, or?
I don't know.
Could you explain that?
Do you want to take credit for that one?
Yeah, I'll take credit for it. I'm just saying. No, I mean, it's really kind of a joke, because they say, oh, there's an earthquake, there's a flood, there's a catastrophe, there's a terrorism attack. God must be angry. He's going to cause havoc. There's a tsunami coming. God is angry. Is that true?
I wouldn't characterize it that way. I don't think God plays games with us. I don't think God
you don't
says...
think he sends us a message?
God,
straighten up?
First of all, the message comes through the scriptures, through the holy word of God. Okay, that's really where we have to focus. But to say natural disasters or earthquakes or wars are signs from God that something's going to happen, I wouldn't go that far.
So it's not like a warning? Straighten up?
Well, I think it's a warning to ourselves. We've messed this up. But to say God is causing all of this, I think, is going way beyond what our belief in our God's participation in our lives. God doesn't. I says we're not manic. We're not puppets that he just has on a string. We're not. He doesn't play games with us. But rather, we have to look at those signs of the times, as the Scripture calls. Look at the signs of the times and discern. What is God saying to us? The great prophets of the Old Testament, that was their greatest gift, was to be able to take what was happening around them and say, this is God's way of saying to us, we have to discern the signs of the times. And I think we're in those times where we have to sit down and discern.
Quick break. Monsignor Raymond C. Dreiling is here, Catholic Diocese, talking about Jesus and talking about Christmas. We'll talk more about Jerusalem and Bethlehem. We'll get to that in just a moment. 436-MeTV option 11. And today's program sponsored by McHenry Protective Services. It's no wonder why the City of Fresno and so many Valley businesses choose McHenry Protective and Investigative Services. With over 50 years of experience in public safety and security, McHenry's team of experts will safeguard you, your commercial property, and your next big event. Professional service, marked patrol vehicles, 24-hour dispatch, and friendly, observant, and responsive armed and unarmed guards are just a few of the reasons you should contact McHenry at 559-478-7747 or visit them online at mchenryprotection.com.
From a top-secret location, it's the spies who love me, bringing together MeTV's top super spies to fight evil at a memorable moment's notice. They're daring.
That's right.
Brave.
Now what are we gonna do?
The best we can.
Suave.
Does that apply to me, Oscar?
Possibly. And smart.
Yellow finger in the gun trick.
Maxwell Smart.
MeTV Fresno, channel 43.6 and Xfinity 187.
We're talking a lot about not politics, but religion on this day, obviously with the Monsignor, and two of the topics that they say you shouldn't talk about during the holidays at your Christmas dinner is religion and politics. But we're kind of breaking that rule here today, and we're getting a lot of calls. Caller, you're on the air with the Monsignor, Raymond C. Dreiling. I'm so glad he's here to offer a little bit of insight as to what's going on. Go ahead, your question, please.
Hi, I wanted to ask your guest if you guys were talking earlier about the conflict going on in Jerusalem and whose land is it anyway, who it really belongs to. Hello?
Yeah, we're here. Go ahead. We're listening.
I was going to ask, why does it belong to the Jews when they are not descendants of Abraham nor the biblical Israelites? They are Eastern European converts, descended from the Khazars, and who converted to Judaism back in the 8th century. So how do these people have any right whatsoever to the Holy Land? And that's my question for today.
Well, that goes into deeper politics and situations.
Is he right though about the Jews?
We have to remember it's not necessarily the bloodline; it's also the faith, the Jewish faith.
But are they descendants of Abraham?
Yes, the Jews are. Yes.
Okay.
They're
but
part of
he claimed that they weren't.
He said some of them, if I heard him correctly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
many of them from Eastern Europe, but they are from their faith dimension absolutely descended from Abraham, as are the Muslims. And of course, we, by extension, the Christians, coming from the Jewish background, Jesus was a Jew, that we share in that same calling. So we have one common father in faith, and that is Abraham.
All right, so the city of Jerusalem belongs to all three faiths.
Absolutely, and it has to remain that way. And it belongs to no one. It belongs to us all.
All right, let's roll the videotape. We have more video from, it's called Jerusalem. Let's roll it and take it right now. City of Jerusalem, of course, has always been a city of strife where people coexist. You know, since the summer of 2014, Monsignor, more explosives day by day left both sides on edge, becoming more and more violent, as you see here. There are the Jews praying against the Wailing Wall. After the abduction and murder of 3 Israeli teenagers from the West Bank, the Israeli military raided countless homes, arrested thousands of Palestinians in both Jerusalem and the West Bank. You remember that?
I remember it, yes.
Yeah, and there's so much more strife going on. This created a lot of anti-Palestinian sentiment in Jerusalem, almost a tit-for-tat attacks, back and forth, back and forth. In fact, there was a brutal attack, you may recall, on a Palestinian boy, 16 years old, on the east side of Jerusalem. He was later beaten, burned alive. I don't know if you remember that incident.
Mm-hmm.
So this tit-for-tat, is this about politics? Is this about religion? Is this about both?
It's about both, in my opinion. It's when politics begins to overcome the religious sentiments. Religion it goes to the very heart. I mean, it goes to the guts of every person. My religious belief is fundamental to who I am, and that's as true for Christians as it is for Muslims and Jews, and for any other. It's who identifies me. And so when that is attacked, when that is ridiculed, of course I'm going to react, okay? And I think that's what's happening in a lot of these situations, where people's fundamental center of their existence is being attacked, and so they react.
When you travel in Israel, as you know, you have to go through so many checkpoints.
Yeah.
To exit Jerusalem to go to Bethlehem, we had to go through a checkpoint, as you did, okay? And I saw guns being drawn at some of those checkpoints, okay? And then we were in a cab, of course. And you look out there and, you know, at Easter they show this movie called Moses on TV, okay? And I looked out there at this barren land between Jerusalem and Bethlehem, and I thought, my God, is this straight out of the movie Moses? It's incredible. I mean, it really is kind of startling. But I want to roll a videotape called Jesus Born in Bethlehem. That's where he was born. So we'll take you a trip to Bethlehem right now via videotape and take you right down those stairs in the cave that sits under the Church of the Nativity there. There you go down that steep flight of stairs. You have to be very careful. If you have a cane or a walker, you need assistance because that is a very steep fall if you go down those stairs and go tumbling down. But this, according to the scripture, Father, is where Jesus was born, in a real cave underground, because Joseph and Mary could not find lodging. And so they just barricaded themselves in this so-called cave here. You pick up the story from there while I put this call on hold. Go ahead. Hang on, caller. Hang on.
Yes, well, because they couldn't find a place to sleep, either the places were full because of the census that was being taken.
There's the 14-point star, right?
There's the star.
That's exactly the spot?
That's the traditional spot where we believe Jesus was born. And pilgrims can go down there and pray and do their private devotions and be able to see that spot. And that's been there for 2,000 years, or more. Yeah, the cave was an ordinary cave where the animals were tied up and protected from the elements.
Yeah.
And Mary and Joseph went there. Her time had come, and so the baby was being born. They had to find something very soon in order for her to deliver the baby in safety and comfort, as much comfort as possible.
And one of the things that I noticed there, as the star here is etched right into that marble floor, it's a 15 silver lamps that surround it, representing the 3 Christian communities that are central to that area. Of course, we've talked about them, but one of the things that I noticed about that cave when I went in there, it is very tight quarters, because it looks like a bat cave.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah, you can get maybe 20 people down there max.
Tight quarters.
Tight quarters. You have to be very close friends.
Yes.
Yeah. And they do not let you spend a lot of time down there because, of course, hundreds and hundreds of people are trying to get down there for their own personal devotions.
Hey, just in case you didn't know, it's originally called the Grotto, right?
The Grotto.
The Grotto. The Grotto, under the Church of the Nativity. Now, the Church of the Nativity is controlled by who? The Greeks, the Catholics, and who else? The Armenians?
No, the upper church, the main church, is controlled or looked after by the Greek Orthodox.
Okay, but the Catholics are there, the Armenians are there.
Yes, we don't have any presence within the church itself. The Catholics don't have any presence within the church itself. Next to the Church of the Nativity is the Church of St. Catherine.
Okay.
And that's the central church for what's called the Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem.
Okay, but the Armenians are there too.
Absolutely, yeah. But you may be thinking of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
No, I'm not. I'm actually thinking of the Church of the Nativity.
Yes.
I thought there were 3 factions there, from what I understood.
No.
At least within close quarters.
Within close quarters, yes. There's been tension between the 3 major presences.
I know, the Catholics, the Armenians, and the Greeks. They're always kind of
there's tensions.
Yeah, there are tensions there.
But
There's
at the
question.
Church of the Nativity, it's less tense than it is at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
Right, but remember I forgot what year it was. They had a standoff there.
Oh,
a bunch of Muslims went into the Church of the Nativity. You remember that?
Yes,
They barricaded themselves and.
It was a horrible situation.
Yeah, they held, I don't know, 13, 14 monks at hostage.
Yes.
And then, I guess they ended the siege after what? 14, 15 days? I'm not sure.
It was a long time.
Yeah, a long time. So, caller, you've been patient. Go ahead. You're waiting, and you're on the air now. Go ahead.
Just want to say that if somebody attacks my faith, I do not want to retaliate because of that. My faith actually makes me stronger than what I see as weakness that makes them want to attack it. I do not do it to others. I respect all. I go to many different faiths, celebrations, and I love all. And that's what Jesus gives to me.
Thank you. That's a good comment. I think maybe the caller may have misunderstood what I was trying to say. Okay. I was not trying to say that we attack one another, but rather human nature calls us to react. However, our faith tells us my Christian faith tells us that there has to be respect and love for one another. That's what I believe. So it wasn't attack. It was that we have a kind of a visceral reason to react to it. To react in violence obviously goes contrary to everything we believe. And so the tension and the violence in the Middle East, especially around Jerusalem, really goes contrary to the teaching of Jesus in a very, very real way, and it has to be condemned.
All right. I got to take a break here. The Reverend Monsignor is here, and Reverend Monsignor Raymond C. Dreiling is here from the Catholic Diocese. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Hey, McHenry Protective Services is our sponsor today. Back in a moment. It's no wonder why the city of Fresno and so many Valley businesses choose McHenry Protective and Investigative Services. With over 50 years of experience in public safety and security, McHenry's team of experts will safeguard you, your commercial property, and your next big event. Professional service, marked patrol vehicles, 24-hour dispatch, and friendly, observant, and responsive armed and unarmed guards are just a few of the reasons you should contact McHenry at 559-478-7747 or visit them online at mchenryprotection.com.
When you're looking for Whirlpool innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified Whirlpool appliances save you energy and money and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
We're back here with the Monsignor. I want to roll the videotape of Pope Francis here, and he seems to be the most recent rock star for the Catholic Church. He really is all over the map, and so many people love him. You don't have to be Catholic to like the Pope. He really is an outstanding human being. I believe this is video of him eating with the homeless just recently, maybe after Thanksgiving or during Thanksgiving Day holiday. But I want to ask you a question about the Pope. In his recent comments earlier this year, maybe you can clarify, because you know, you study this, you follow it, you're part of the Catholic Church. He suggested that the Church be more accepting, the Catholics should be more accepting of gays and lesbians. What do you make of that? What was the Pope trying to tell the Church and trying to tell the Catholic people and people across the world that are watching, that watch the Pope's every move?
Yes. His comment was very, very powerful in the sense that what he's trying to say is he's not endorsing a lifestyle. He's not saying that one lifestyle is preferable to another, right. But he's saying let's not pigeonhole people. Let's not point fingers of blame or
let's not criticize them. Is that what he's trying to say?
Well, it's not. I think criticize is a kind of a secular term that we use, but rather to remember that we are all members of God's family, and some have a different approach to life. But it's not a question of just tolerance. I believe Jesus did not teach tolerance. He taught us to love. And love goes deeper than tolerance, in my opinion.
Would Jesus have agreed with Pope Francis's analogy of the gays and lesbians?
I would look at it from the other point. I think Pope Francis is agreeing with Jesus.
Okay.
You know.
Sorry.
And
okay.
so I just think that Jesus was condemned during his life. Sure. For having dinner with prostitutes and having dinner with the people who are outcasts. And so I think Pope Francis is taking that same teaching of Jesus and applying it to the modern world and the situation in the modern world. People who by all stretch of the imagination can be on the fringes, on the outskirts. He's trying to draw them in and say, they're part of our family too. We don't want to exclude people simply because of their particular lifestyle. Is he saying, do we have to agree with it? No, but he's saying they are still part of our family, and we need to protect them, first of all, from discrimination and from violence, and at the same time to encounter them. The big word with Pope Francis is encounter, that we don't see people as them and us, but rather we see people as we together.
How does the church and Pope Francis feel about, and I got a call here, but I'm going to put it on hold for a second, feel about the issue, the other critical issue, and that's abortion. And it's been talked about throughout the campaign, of course, with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump recently talked about it. In fact, in an interview that I recall, Donald Trump saying that, Roe versus Wade, he doesn't know if it'll be overturned, and that kind of alarmed a lot of people. Well, what is the official stance? Has it changed? And as I recall, I think Pope Francis may have made some recent comments about abortion.
The official stance has not changed, and I think I have to
Okay.
be very, very clear about that.
Okay.
That the Catholic Church still opposes abortion under any circumstances.
Okay.
The right to life of that child is as precious as any other life.
Right.
Even though that the small baby in the womb is being protected by his or her mother.
Correct.
We must protect that life as a vital human life given to us by God. What Pope Francis is doing now is to saying, okay, women who have been part of an abortion, for example, have chosen an abortion as a way of dealing with a situation, they, like others, should not be thrown away as absolute, nothing, but rather we have to find ways in which to reconcile that person from the.
And they will be forgiven. They are forgiven.
If they're open to the possibility of God's forgiveness, yes.
Right.
But the Pope is not saying, that the Catholic Church's teaching on against abortion has changed.
But God forgives everything. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter what it is.
However, but God is just. So we have to take responsibility for our decisions.
Will he forgive a person such as Charles Manson?
Well, I don't know about. I don't.
In other words,
I can't speak for
if somebody says, "Well, God forgives everybody, no matter what," would a person like Charles Manson be forgiven if, in fact, he is regretful for what he did and he's honest and in his heart knows he is, and God knows it.
And God knows it, and he turns to God and asks for forgiveness. God will forgive him. However, he still must pay the price for his crimes. For example, let me give you an example. When Pope
and wait a minute, he will have to pay his price for his crimes here on this earth or after?
No, here on this earth.
Okay.
So, for example, when Pope John Paul II was shot, his assassin, his attempted assassin, was in prison, and he went and he forgave him, as we believe God forgives us.
Okay.
But it didn't get him out of prison. He still stayed in prison. The assassin.
So you pay the price here. You may pay the price on the other side after you die, but we're not sure about that, and you may be forgiven.
Oh, God's mercy is everlasting.
Okay. All right. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. It's so confusing.
Homosexuality point, and I think it's a homosexuality itself is a sin. All sins can be forgiven, and it depends on whether people want to ask for forgiveness. It's just like if a person was a thief, I don't have to ostracize him because he's a thief, but I don't have to support that either. If he asks for forgiveness from his sin, then Christ will forgive him, and I'll wait till you come in.
Okay, thank you.
And that's true. We don't have to support any lifestyle or a way of living. What we have to do is to always be open to the possibility that our actions, our decisions must never prejudge someone's eternal salvation. That's in the hands of God.
We have about 5 minutes left, and I want to get to a couple of other topics, and one of those topics is rapture. Can you talk about that?
Rapture?
Yes.
Explain what you mean by rapture.
So God will come down, second coming. The bad people will go up, ascend to heaven with him, or the good people will ascend to heaven with him. The bad people will stay here. The dead who are good will ascend. The bad who are dead will stay underground.
Yeah. Well, I asked for.
We've all heard this.
Yeah, I've asked for what you mean by that, because there's so many different iterations of what it means.
So many definitions.
Definitions of what that means.
Well, that's just one of them. I've heard.
Yes,
All right.
yeah. There will come a time of final judgment where Christ will return. We believe that Christ will return and to judge the world. To say that Christ is a judge is not to say that he's going to come with a sword and slash everybody's throat, but rather, in justice, we must take responsibility for who we are and how we act in this world.
We just don't know how it's going to happen, do we?
We do not know how it's going to happen, and anybody says they do is not really given the truth.
All right. I want to put up a picture, a still photo of what Jesus may or may not have looked like. A lot of people think that he looked like that. Do we really know how he looked?
No, we don't.
Okay, so that picture could be wrong.
It could very easily be wrong.
In fact, more than likely it is wrong. We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. The Bible had nothing to do with telling us about what Jesus looked like.
Really?
What the Bible wants to do is to tell us who Jesus is and what his message is. It doesn't care about the historical kind of details that we in modern society want to know.
All right. Another photo I want to flash up there is Aleppo. We know what's happening in Aleppo in Syria. Let's flash the photo. That city has been destroyed, completely obliterated by the civil war, the last 5 years. Let's put up another photo right here in the city of Fresno. Dylan Noble, shot by, of course, police. So I'm looking at the news and I'm seeing all this strife across the world. In Aleppo, here in Fresno, this young man, 19 years old, shot by police. There's so much politics involved in everything. If there is a God, if Jesus did exist, which we know he did, if he was the Son of God, why do all of these things happen? Many bad things.
And the bad things, I believe that it's because we really have not listened to the message of Jesus. It really hasn't taken root in our hearts.
Who isn't listening? There are many who are listening.
Who are listening, but are they listening with the ear of what Jesus really wanted us to hear?
The reason I showed those two photos to show that, look, bad things are happening here, bad things are happening across the globe.
Yes.
It's not only here. I want to know why they're happening.
Because I think people have lost their way. They really haven't found the way to understand how we deal with one another in a loving and caring way. Even though many of them in the world are not Christian, we Christians have to be witnesses of the presence of Christ in the world.
And you are part of Faith and Community here in the city of Fresno.
Yes,
Explain that in 30 seconds, if you would. We only got about a minute left. So
Faith and Community is the coming together of particularly religious leaders who are trying to find a common ground, a common way to go to solve some of the issues you brought up.
Yeah.
Violence, the whole issue of water, the whole issue of land and the air and all of the things that are going on in our valley. So Faith in the Valley is really trying to find common ground among religious leaders, not only Christian religious leaders, all different
religious leaders, Muslims, Jewish,
absolutely.
So
Sikhs, Sikhs are part of our group. So it's trying to find common ground in which we can solve issues that face our community.
Quickly, we got 30 seconds. Let's put up the picture of Donald Trump and Lee Brand. Really quick, go to Trump first, and then Donald Trump, President-elect, Lee Brand, Mayor-elect. In 10 seconds, can they help bring us together, along with the Faith and Community people?
If we work together and we don't build walls around us, but rather build bridges.
Got to go, Monsignor.
Thank you.
Raymond C. Dreiling, I appreciate your time.
You're very welcome.
During this busy season. Thanks for the insight.
Yeah.
Come back
God
again.
bless. Yeah.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, too.
Thank you. All right. Back to tomorrow with another edition of Connect with Me. It'll be Al Perez and his boxing gym. That's right. We're going to get worked up for the holiday season. See you tomorrow. Have a great day. It's no wonder why the city of Fresno and so many Valley businesses choose McHenry Protective and Investigative Services. With over 50 years of experience in public safety and security, McHenry's team of experts will safeguard you, your commercial property, and your next big event. Professional service, marked patrol vehicles, 24-hour dispatch, and friendly, observant, and responsive armed and unarmed guards are just a few of the reasons you should contact McHenry at 559-478-7747 or visit